Hey everybody, I wanted to talk with you a little bit about what happened in Houston on Friday night at the Astroworld Music Festival. First of all, I just want to say my condolences to the families of the people who were killed in that stampede and who died as a result of the injuries that they suffered when the whole thing just turned into complete chaos. I'm not here to blame Travis Scott. I'm not here to blame anybody. I'm just here to ask some questions. And first of all, question number one, what were 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds doing at a concert like that on a Friday night? I understand it was a music festival, but by the same token, a lot of the major concerts, you have to be at least 18 to get through the front door. Even if they were with a parent, to put children in that kind of a high-risk environment where you're in a festival environment where there's no set seating and they're standing that close to other people, and in this case getting crushed by other people, how smart is that? So my question is, what were the rules that allowed children that young, because one of the victims, a 10-year-old boy, is in critical condition. What kind of rules were there that allowed children that young to be in that particular venue? Now the second question that I have that I found very interesting is this whole debate about just how much cooperation there was between the promoters of the concert, which was Live Nation, and Travis Scott. He's a hometown hero in Houston, and by all accounts and from everything that I've learned about what he's been doing in Houston, he does a lot for the community there. People love him, obviously. He's an international, huge superstar, creative genius in terms of his music, his performances. He puts 1,000% into it, and everybody knows that. The mosh pits, the passing, the body surfing, the climbing, the energy, the jumping, all of that is part of that phenomenon that is Travis Scott and the whole Astroworld Music Festival. Now my question was, and I still don't have answers to this because the investigations are just getting underway, is in a lot of large venues, when you have crowds, whether it's sports whether it's sports events, whether it's other types of music events, whether it's parades, whether it's Times Square, New Year's Eve, they always have a barrier set up. There's an alleyway now. I would call it an alleyway, but it's like another barrier. There's the crowd, then there's barricades, which is a barrier for emergency responders, first responders, medics, if somebody passes out or has a heart attack or gets very sick and needs to be taken out of there immediately. And then there's whatever else is going on. Now apparently with this, according to one of the people that I interviewed today, they could get right up to the stage. And then at a certain point, this tremendous surge happened and people just began shoving towards the stage. And the witness that I interviewed, who said that he had helped a couple of women towards the end with CPR once they got away from the crush, he said they were packed in so tight that he couldn't even reach into his backpack to get a bottle of water out of there, and that he couldn't even move his arms enough to touch his face. That's how tightly packed in they were. So then when things started to go left, he said, I got to get out of here. And then as he was moving from towards the stage area to try to get out of the car, he said that the pressure was so intense that at a certain point he was like, if I can't get out of here now, I am going to die. So he was a Marine reservist. He pushed his way out. He said his dad was a doctor, his brother was a doctor. They were part of CPR. He grabbed one girl who started to faint, carried her out, to an area where at least there was enough space he could put her down and give her CPR. And then there were two other people. He said there was another man that was already unconscious that was lying there on the ground. He described in very horrific and disturbing detail that they literally had to walk over bodies in order to get out of the venue. Today is Monday. I spoke with him. This is like almost 72 hours after it. He still seemed very shaken up by what he had gone through and very disturbed by it, which is totally understandable. So that's another question that I have is, what about the setup? Because everyone was saying beforehand there were going to be extra police officers on him, which apparently there were, supposedly over 500. There was security, over 700 members of security. That's the numbers that we were given, because they did want to have the type of stampede that they had a couple of years ago in 2019 when the Astroworld Music Festival was happening there. So they wanted to take extra precautions, and by all accounts before Friday night, that's what, there was this cooperation between the concert organizers and the police. Then come to find out today that the chief of police in Houston says that he went to Travis Scott before the concert and said, listen, I have serious concerns. about the safety here and what the whole setup is. Well, you're the chief of police. If you had serious concerns, there are things that you can do. Bring in more manpower, control the access. You saw the video I posted on Saturday morning from our Fox 26 affiliate in Houston. People were just, that was the VIP area, and they were just bum rushing it and just going through. And most of them, if you looked at them, it was a very diverse group of young men and a lot of boys. So they were trying to get in, they were, to sneaking in or whatever, and that's what happened. So I think there's going to be a lot of questions and probably new policies that come out of this. If you're doing a festival, and if you're doing a festival with a high energy artist, and whether it's rock and roll, whether it's heavy metal, whether it's hip hop, whether it's a sporting event or whatever, there have to be emergency exits. That was the other issue. I asked the witness that I interviewed, could you get out like on the sides? And he said no. He goes, you walk straight up to the front of the stage, and then you had to make your way back through the crowd. So he was basically carrying this girl, walking against this whole crowd surge that is now going towards the stadium. So those were some of the questions that I have. I think we're going to be hearing a lot more about it. People are saying that some of the people that tried to post pictures of what really happened on social media, that they were told, I don't know by who, not to make it look that bad. I don't know about all that. But, and if you have pictures, send them to me. I'll investigate. I'll take a look at it. And there may be more casualties. I think there may be more casualties than what they're reporting. There were 50,000 people in that. There were 50,000 people in that. That's almost the size of the Giant Stadium Summer Jam concert, which is where. But there at Giant Stadium, when Summer Jam is going on, there's actual seats. There's very tight security. There's a New Jersey State Troopers outside. There's very tight security with the event venue, and even the non-official security people, the people that work for the Meadowlands, they are under extremely strict rules about what they can and they cannot do. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, I think that at this point, 2021, when you're having a concert or whatever, there have to be certain considerations and certain understandings, especially if you know you're going to get a highly motivated, highly individualized, a highly energized crowd, And I think the other thing too is that the authorities are not necessarily taking into account until afterwards is the social media aspect. People texting their friends, people go, hey, we're over here, hey, let's try this, hey, let's try that. And that's one of the things that's going to come out in the investigation, because they're going to be using social media, public postings, not spying. It's not spying if it's out in public, so they say. They're going to be using social media postings to create a timeline of what actually happened. Now, another thing that I have heard, and I've heard debated, is people have said Travis Scott kept playing while people were injured. Well, let me tell you something. When you have 55,000 people in a stadium and something happens, if he had gotten on the mic right away when there appeared to be a first medical incident and said, okay, this concert is over, all hell would have broken loose. It would have been even worse than it was. So he was probably being told what to do. At one point, he told people to make way for an ambulance, and then one of the people in the crowd got onto the ambulance and started dancing and moving around and jumping around on top of the ambulance. But he had made pleas to people to please allow the medics to come in and help the people that had fallen out. They still don't know why people were falling out. Was it because of excitement? Was it because of too much to drink and not enough to eat, or too much of something else? We don't know yet. I'm sure we're going to be finding out more. So I just want to but again, this is not pointing fingers at the Houston Police Department, not pointing fingers at Travis Scott, who is an amazing, incredible artist with a deep, deep love for his hometown, Houston. Not pointing fingers at anybody at this point, but just like, what the heck is going on? But the biggest thing to me remains that question of like, how do you have 10, 11, and 12-year-old kids in a crowd like that on a night when it's just basically a general population, general seating type of situation? Anyway, if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have photos, DM me. If you have any questions you want me to look into, which I am going to be looking into this all week long, we're going to be doing a Street Soldiers show on it in depth on Friday night at 10:30 on Fox 5, which you can watch on your phone on the free Fox 5 and Y app. You'll be home to your TV. And let's just keep it moving and for the truth to get out, because I would hate to see the festivals and the concerts, especially the hip-hop ones, just as things are getting back into a normal swing of things now that the pandemic is coming to a close. I would hate to see those things shut down because of what happened here. By the same token, there were at least 8 people who did not go home that night because of going to a concert. They left the houses all excited to go to a concert, and then they never made it home. Instead, their families got a phone call and they had to go and identify their body. And that's a horrible, horrible thing to have happen. So my thoughts and prayers go out to them, and let's just see where this all leads. But we just, hope and pray that it never happens again, and we have some lessons learned from this, all right? Good night, guys.